green plants that manufacture food on their own. They can feed on plants, they can feed on animals, so they feed on different things. So what is the least thing that can cause competition in heterotrophic organism? Mates, is it mates? Mates can cause competition, but is that the least thing that can cause competition? The next one is space, the next one is light, and the other one is nutrient. Looking at this four, they are all important. But because of the nature of heterotrophic organism, they don't need light. It is autotrophic organisms that need light for manufacture of their food, because they manufacture their food in the presence of sunlight, because of the presence of chlorophyll in their body, in their system. So the answer here is light. Light is the least factor. Inadequacy of light is the least factor that will cause competition in heterotrophic organisms. Whereas if the question was to say in autotrophic organisms, competition will be caused. The most important thing that will cause competition is the inadequacy of its light. That will be the first thing, because light is more important to them than other things. The next question. The type of reproduction that leads to variation in animal and plant population is what? A. Budding, B. Vegetative, C. Asexual, D. Sexual. Sexual reproduction will cause the variation will not be so much. For instance, let's consider one case. You discover that children will definitely look like their parents or their grandparents. You will see dresses, oh, you are the son of so and so person, you are the daughter of so and so person, you look so much like him. That is sexual reproduction, because something from the parents, from both parents, are coming together. But in asexual reproduction, it is just one parent, it's a single parent that is producing the offspring. So the answer to this question, the type of reproduction that leads to variation in animal and plant that will be different, that might be totally different from the parent plant, the answer is C, asexual. The next question, which of the following requires the use of carbon dating to prove that evolution has occurred? Biochemical similarities, B. Molecular records, C. Fossil records, D. Comparative anatomy. The answer there is biochemical similarity. That is what requires the use of carbon dating to prove that evolution has occurred. The next one, the presence of sunken stomata and the folding of leaves are adaptations to what? To prevent entry of pathogens, to prevent guttation, to remove excess water, D. To reduce water loss. Sunken stomata refers to when the stomata, you don't find it on the surface of the leaf, because stomata is responsible for respiration, and at the same time transpiration occurs when you have the stomata up like that and it's just losing water. But when there is sunken stomata, the stomata goes down and the leaf is folded. So that tells you that it's trying to prevent something, and that is reduce water loss. It doesn't want to lose its water. So the answer to that question is option D, reduce water loss. The next question, spines and shells on animals are adaptation for what? Physical defense, camouflage, chemical defense, mimicry. You know, spines like thorns, then shells. What? For instance, when you see a snake and just try to touch it, most likely is the shell you first touch. You won't first of all touch the snail itself. So that is an adaptation for a physical defense, just physical, just to touch it. That's option A. The next question, the inactive state exhibited by an animal during hot dry seasons is termed A. Estivation, B. Dormancy, C. Resting, D. Hibernation. Estivation is the answer, option A. That is a state, an inactive state of animals because the weather is hot and dry. The next question, an insect with a mandibulate mouth part will obtain its food by what? By chewing and sucking, by sucking, by biting and chewing. The mandibulate part of the insect is to help it to bite and chew. That is option D, biting and chewing. The next question, an example of cryptic coloration is A. The bright marks on a poisonous tropical frog on variegated leaves. Bright marks on a poisonous tropical frog on variegated leaves. B. Bright color of an insect-pollinated flower. C. Molted colors on moths that rest on lichens. D. Green color of a plant. The answer is A. Bright marks on a poisonous tropical frog on variegated leaves. Looking at a variegated leaf is a leaf that has pattern on it. Like we have our hibiscus sinensis, our hibiscus plant. If you look at some, as in the real hibiscus plant that has a flower, is very green, greenish in color, and is plain green. The green is uniform. But there are some other hibiscus flowers now that you find that are being planted just as the other green plants that are planted numerously around the house or around a particular building. They are together, just like the way you plant your ficus and the yellow flower plants, the Duranta repens. So those ones, you see that they are not the very deep green color. They have light green, then some parts are like you have white. It has patches, like you have your Kampala, the Adire cloth that has different patterns. That's what is called variegated leaves. So on that kind of leaf, when you now have poison, you have a tropical frog that has bright marks on it, just like that leaves, just like the variegated leaf. That is an example of cryptic coloration. The next question. An argument against Lamarck's theory of evolution is that A. Acquired traits cannot be passed on to the offspring. B. Disuse of body parts cannot weaken the parts. C. Disused part is dropped off in the offspring. D. Traits cannot be acquired through constant use of body parts. The answer is A. Acquired traits cannot be passed on to the offspring. So that's the argument against Lamarck's theory of evolution, that acquired traits cannot be passed on to the offspring. The next question. The spots and the stripes of the leopard and tiger are examples of what? A. Warning coloration. B. Countershading. C. Cryptic coloration. D. Disruptive coloration. It is disruptive coloration. The next question. Rodents gnaw on food with their A. Strong jaws. B. Flat ridged teeth. C. Chisel-like front teeth. D. Molar teeth. The rodents gnaw on food with their flat ridged teeth. Flat ridged teeth. That's the answer. Option B. The next question. An evidence of the relationship between living organisms and their extinct relatives can be best obtained from A. Paleontology. B. Embryology. C. Comparative anatomy. D. Comparative physiology. Living organisms, present living organisms, and those that are and their relatives that are extinct. How can we explain that there is a relationship between them? When you get the internal structure of the living organism and those of their relatives that are extinct, maybe you got it from rocks, you got it from fossils. The anatomy, that is the internal structure of the old relatives and the living relatives, will be very, very similar, and that gives us what we call comparative anatomy. That is option C. The next question is a diagram that is showing 4 different organisms. The first being a mammal, the second is an amphibian, like a toad. Then the third one is a bird. Then we have the fourth one being a fish. Now the question says the correct evolutionary sequence of the organisms represented is what? First option says 1 to 3 to 2 to 4. That is mammal to bird to amphibian to fish. Then the second one says amphibian to bird to fish then to mammal. The third one says bird to amphibian to mammal then to fish. The last option says fish to amphibian to bird and then to mammal. Looking at the evolutionary sequence, the answer is D. It's from fish, then we have amphibians, then to birds, then we now have mammals. The next question says oviviparity is a type of fertilization exhibited by the organism labeled what? A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, D, 4. The answer is C, 3. That is birds. Birds are the one that exhibit oviviparity type of fertilization. That is, they lay their eggs and brood over it and hatch it and hatch the young one out. So the answer is C. The next question. In his theory of evolution, Darwin implied that A, the struggle for existence among